Hello everyone, welcome back to the Dragons Den. Pull up a seat and select a drink of your choice. We've got everything from sparkling water to coffee to tea, whatever you think you'll enjoy during this time we have together. Now, I'll start off this podcast episode with an apology for lack of episodes after I did my big update. I've had so many technology difficulties lately that I've just been sitting here going, why is this a thing? But now that we are sorted, I've got things hopefully stable and good to go, we can finally record an episode. Now this episode's really fun because I asked over on my Twitter, so again, you can just follow me on Twitter at a Mythical Dragon, plugging that in real quick, what topic everyone would like to hear. And we haven't talked about D&D a lot, Dungeons and Dragons that is. So why not? We figured we'll have a little chat about that because there's been a lot of stuff for me to tell you in regards to D&D. And I've got about 3-ish areas that we'll be covering. We'll be talking about how I've been challenging myself by playing 2 very unique characters in the 2 campaigns I'm a part of. And then I'll talk about the one over just over a year actually of teaching D&D online. So I'll talk about the unique experiences, the coolest moments ever, the lessons learned, because I've learned definitely a lot in the last few months of teaching online. And then I'm going to talk about future opportunities with D&D because I've had a couple come my way and I'm really looking forward to them. So that'll be the structure of the podcast. We'll see if I can make it to an hour. I've got lots of stories to share, so I'm pretty sure we'll make it to an hour. So let's begin. I have been playing 2 new characters in the past, I guess it's been a while since I've been playing these characters, but we had to take a long hiatus for a couple of the campaigns, for the 2 campaigns, and we're finally getting back into the swing of things, and I'm like, oh my goodness, what have I done to myself? Because these 2 characters are quite different than me. In a lot of regards, but also not in a way. I'll show you what I mean by sharing some stories. And we'll begin with Malva. Malva Slywitz is a character I'm playing in a Curse of Strahd campaign, being DM'd by my friend Lourdes. And her whole shtick is very different from me, because my very first D&D character was Guinevere, who was a Wood Elf, Life Cleric, Divine, Soul Sorcerer. That was her kind of full character details. She was a really good, naive person who just wanted to help the world and destroy evil and be this really good beacon of light in the world, especially in Barovia, because she went through Curse of Strahd as well at the beginning. And she was very much me, because I strive to be that kind of person as well, to be helpful, to be good in this world, to not really get rid of evil, but maybe by being good, combat it in a way. Just be another force against it, just by being who I am. So that was her. She was very much me, very helpful, very naive, very new to everything, which was, good to have as a new character. And first time playing D&D, it's I'm new to everything, she's gonna be new to everything, let's go. But to contradict that now, Malva Slywitz, she is a ghost-wise halfling monk with the Way of the Shadow path, and her background is actually a criminal blackmailer. So she is not a good character. She is quite, I think I have her down as chaotic neutral, because her whole shtick is basically she's been trained to get information however she can. So that will be through scouting and looking for traps and secret messages or hidden compartments. She's also done a lot of interrogating, and she's not the kind detective narrator. She is more okay, we've danced around all the questions, you haven't answered me yet, I'm taking a pinky, or I'm taking a toe, or I will cut your tongue out if you don't start speaking. She's very cutthroat in that way. And not me at all. I hate threatening people. It's not my thing. I don't like doing it. I don't even like standing up for myself most days because that equals conflict, and what is conflict? I don't like it. So she's been a very challenging player to play, or character to play, because I've had to do things that I would never do or even make a character do before. Like with Gwen, she would look around and investigate and kind of make sure there's no danger or make sure there's no evil around. And if there was, she'd be like, we gotta destroy it. Let's go. Whereas Malva, she's like, yeah, there's some bad shit in here. Y'all want to deal with it or not? I can deal with it. I'm gonna go deal with it. And she'll like go in there and start punching away because she's a monk. So she's much more that kind of character. So it's been really interesting to play her. And I've actually been working on a couple things with my DM, Lourdes, to make her cursed item a little more interesting. So that's one cool thing that Lourdes let us do at the beginning of this Curse of Strahd campaign, is to pick a cursed item or a magical item. Basically, roll on a table and see what you get. I got one of the most boring cursed items you can get. Like, I think it's pretty cool and it works for Malva quite well. It is a book of cursed dreams. So basically, it automatically records your dreams, but turns them into nightmares. So if you open the book, Malva will be like, oh, I had a really nice, like, long rest. I had a good sleep. I think I dreamt really nicely. I remember, like, seeing my good year-old friend Hendrik again. Then you open the book and it's like, you dreamt of Hendrik being, like, tortured and slaughtered. And, like, it's just, like, a really bad nightmare kind of situation. And I think that works well for her because of her background. She had lived in a village that she just didn't fit in. She was definitely one of those, like, outcast characters. Pretty common in the fucking D&D story world, right? But she just fell into a wrong crowd, basically. And I'm trying to pull up her story right here now, guys. There we go. And they were like, you need to tell us secrets. You need to tell us what's going on in your village. Like, these group of people that lived outside of her town. And she was pretty close to, like, her parents, and her parents worked for the elders of her village. So she was pretty good at getting that information as, like, even a young teenager. She was able to kind of, like, sneak into meetings, listen in, and then, like, report back to this group of people. But what she didn't realize is that she was just having fun playing spy, you know? She's a teenager. She's like, oh, cool, I get to go, like, sneak in and listen in on things. Fuck yeah. I feel all sneaky. No one has seen me. I'm badass. Like, she had that attitude to her growing up. But then, in the middle of the night, this is, of course, all the tragic backstories. Here we go. Sorry. To be fair, this is my first character with a tragic backstory, so be a little proud of me, okay? Gwen had a very nice childhood, just some family things with her dad, that was it. But for Malva, they all got woken up in the middle of the night to their village burning. Like it's being destroyed. And apparently, the group she was talking with didn't like the plans they had. Because they were planning on expanding a little bit and opening borders to the town to let anyone come in. It was pretty much like a halfling human kind of colony, basically, with some elves. So they're planning on opening their borders to let more people come in, have some tourism, showcase kind of like their cute little like village and like simple life idea. And this group was like, no. So they came and attacked and burnt it all down, really. Malva escaped with her best friend Hendrik. They were like, fuck this, we're out. And it was a hard decision for her because her parents, she couldn't find them. No, and like anywhere. Like they were gone when she had woken up. And she couldn't find them anywhere. So she's like, I guess you're the closest thing I have to a family. Let's go. And they like bolted and like left the city. Or left the little town. They came back a few days later and it was ravaged. So there was like dead bodies everywhere. All of the homes had been ransacked. A lot of treasure and money and everything had been taken. And she was in the middle of investigating her house when the man she's been talking to from this group came in and going, hey kid, sorry, didn't mean for it to go like this, but you know, if you need something to do, you could work for us. Like, it's money, it's a roof over your head, it's kind of a family. We're a pretty good group, despite what we've just done, if you can believe it, oddly enough. we've got our morals, we got our beliefs, and we stick to them. What do you say, kid? And Malva was like, I mean, there's no point of anything really. So if you allow my best friend to join, sure. And the guy was like, yes, 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 of course. The other guy can come. Why not? With more the merrier. We like to. We have a big party every once in a while. The more the merrier. Lo and behold, she found out more about this group because, again, with her sneaky spy skills, basically, she was able to find out that this was a group of Vistani. So, get it? Connection to Strahd and Barovia, potentially. But they weren't like the good Vistani that brought in villagers to Barovia to try to fight off Strahd. It was more of like a group that went rogue and went to like the mainland and like snuck out of Barovia to like plunder and grab things and all that kind of stuff. So she learned a lot from this group on how to do that herself. Lo and behold, they met another Vistani man, like from a separate group, and they were unhappy with them. Like this man that came in, he's just like, what are you guys doing? You guys know better. This is not the Vistani way of life. How dare you? You know better. You spread joy. You give hope to these people. You don't take from them. You don't kill their families. What are you doing? And they had a big argument, and Malva heard it all because, again, she is one with the shadow and can kind of hide and sneak in. And it led to a big argument that finally the man that came and visited killed the leader of this Vistani group. All hell broke loose. It's basically two factions of Vistani fighting each other at one point. Oh, there we go. And it just led to this kind of big brawl, and like Malva and Hendrik were just kind of like, what the fuck do we do? And unfortunately, one of the results was like, the Vistani group she was a part of was just like, why don't you just take one of the kids? Take one of them, give them a good life, and just like, well, that's it. We'll stop doing what we're saying. Vistani bullshit lie. And they took Hendrik. And the other Vistani group took Hendrik away from her. Years down the road, Malva left the group. She was like, fuck this. Like, I'm not getting anywhere. I don't know where he is. I can't go find him. They're not going to let me leave. I quit. So she gave up everything she owned, basically, except for her daggers. That's the only thing she was allowed to keep so she could, survive. She gave up all her gold, her quarterstaff, all of these things that she had on her, a photo of her family, everything, and went to go find him. She found out that Hendrik, her best friend, had been sort of a wise ass in the other Vistani group, and before they even made it to Barovia, he basically knocked 5 of them out and escaped. It led to her to go to Waterdeep, which is fucking Waterdeep, and found out that he got into a bad crew there, because naturally, bad crew, right? And he was arrested, and he was in jail, and they were sentenced to kill him. That's the last thing she heard before she had a weird message in her head. It sounded like the Vistani man, like the one that came and attacked her original group, saying, you need to come with me. Your skills are needed here in Barovia. And like her world went black, and that's all she wrote. Now she's in Barovia. So yeah, messed up backstory, criminal kid, basically forced to work under these Vistani and all this kind of shit. So not very good time for her, and now she's in Barovia. And her skill set is very much like, we gotta get information, we gotta find shit, we need to know everything about everyone in this goddamn place. So she's pretty interrogative and investigative, basically. So she's an interesting character to play. And she's already done some pretty fucked up shit in Barovia, not gonna lie. They were at a tower, like a guard tower, and she went and interrogated one of the guards, and he was being very pointed with his answers, so she could tell that he's not giving her everything that she was asking and not what she needed. And so she just lost it. She's just like, I am sick of this. You need to tell me the truth, or I will do something that you will regret. And he's just like, I'll never regret that. I have to uphold this place and the morals of this place. I'm not going to give you anything. So she snapped and cut off his hand. Yep, just a little bit of anger, backstory shit coming through there, and then the party kind of got mad at her a little bit, the D&D party that she's a part of. And then they had to work it out with her, and she had like some nice one-on-ones with some of the party members, and even the NPC that's with her, Rictavio. So if you know Rictavio and Barovia, yes, he gave her a ring that she's still refusing to wear because she's like, I don't fuck this man, I don't know anything about him, I'm not gonna put on a ring that he gave me, what the fuck. But I think she's gonna start putting on the ring here pretty soon, where we are in the campaign, because things got pretty fucked up, and yeah, so she's been interesting. So we are reworking her curse book because it's kind of boring. Like, all she would do is like open it up, read it, and be like, cool, needed that reminder that I'm a horrible person, thanks, close book. Basically. And we're reworking that curse book Dreams because it's just doesn't do anything. Like, there's no effect, there's no consequence, it's just, yep, there you go, bad dream, bad reminder, good luck, have a good day. But now we're reworking it a little bit, just have a bit more involved with it. So I'm just gonna pull up what I did to rework the curse book, because you people that love playing D&D, you love hearing how things are reworked or redone or revamped. So I'm gonna give you a little fun cursed book of dreams to play with. How about that? So I sent this message to my DM, and I was like, I'm working on some stuff for Malva, and realized that the Cursed Book of Dreams really doesn't have a lot of information on what the effects of the dreams have on the person. So I came up with something that I wanted to see what you thought of. All I know is that when she has a long rest or is unconscious for the period of a long rest, she has to roll a D100. Anything under 50 is a nightmare, above 50 is a regular dream. I was thinking for the nightmares, there are 5 possible states Melva would be in after the long rest or unconscious period. The 5 states would be unworthy, depressed, angry or hostile, useless, and silent. Each one would have a negative effect for her. So if she woke up and I rolled, like, we would roll a d20 to determine which state she would be in, basically. So if she got unworthy, she would have no value for her life. So she would put herself in harm's way for a different reason than scouting ahead and helping the party out. It's more for like, what am I even worthy of to remain alive? I might as well just go ahead and whatever happens happens. I don't care anymore. Like, I have no value for my life. The other state would be depressed, so she falls back in the group and has a forlorn look the whole day. And for her to participate or be involved, she would need to be asked to do things. And it would take maybe a couple of moments, like, hey, Malva, do you mind opening this door? She would like look up and be like, what? Like, Malva, do you want to open this door for us? And be like, oh, sure. She would be in that kind of state. Angry, hostile, she would wake up wanting to throw something or destroy something. So that could be on her person, or it could be like maybe they're in a room and at the table she would just kind of go and fucking kick it and destroy it, because she's a monk, man. She's a badass monk. And after she gets that out of her system, she's like, okay, let's go. But then she would remain pretty angry and snappy the whole day. So the party's like, hey, Melva, what's going on? I'm like, none of your business. Like, she would kind of have that attitude. Useless. This would be a bit different than depressed. So she wouldn't actually make suggestions or try to lead at all. She would just follow orders and instructions to a T, basically. So they say, Melva, open the door. She's like, yep. And she would go and do the door. Open the door, because like she finally will feel like needed. That's the whole thing. Like, she feels useless, so unless someone asks her to do something, she's not gonna do it. And so they're like, oh, hey, Melva, we need you to do this. She'd be like, oh, yes, okay. It's kind of that counteractive measure of what's happening to her, like how she's feeling. So it's a way to kind of combat it. And then silent, that's straightforward. She just stays really quiet the whole day, will not even answer questions unless someone snaps her out of that state. So she would either need to be like shaken a bit or slapped, or just be like, Melva, stop. That kind of idea. And so we'd roll a d20 to determine. So there's 5 states, of course, be like 1 to 4, 5 to 8, 9 to 12, like that, 9 to 12, 13 to 16, 17 to 20. That kind of idea, and whatever it would be the state she has. So this is if she has a nightmare. So I thought that was a cool rework, because it would be a way to role play it and actually have it matter in the campaign. So that's going to be a challenge for me as well, although some of those states that I mentioned are not too far off from how I feel sometimes. So there's that. So Malva is that kind of a character for me. It's quite interesting to try to be reasonable with her party because she's had that bad interaction already, but then also snapping back to just habits of, no, I'm not happy with this, and because I'm not happy, I'm just gonna go fucking do what I want. Chaotic neutral at its finest, basically. So that character has been interesting to play because I don't like doing bad things. I'm not a bad person. I don't like it. But it's interesting to challenge myself in that way. I think it's fun. It leads to consequences that I've been dealing with in this campaign. And it gets really unique. So I can't wait to keep playing her in this Chris Estrad environment. Another character I've been playing, though, in another campaign. So this is done every couple weeks-ish by my friend Uranos. So if you're listening, Uranos, yay, I get to talk about Yuri. Now, Yuri is an interesting, crazy cat. That's right, she's a tabaxi. And I've made her a rogue. But a different kind of rogue. So we know you got assassin, thief, all those kinds of things. I decided to try the mastermind subclass for the rogue, and it's very interesting. She's got a charlatan background, which I think works very nicely for the mastermind, and she's also another chaotic character. I can't tell if she's chaotic good or chaotic neutral yet. I'm sure Uranos has his thoughts on that, so yeah, I'm sure he'll tell me. But she's able to disguise herself quite quickly. So to the whole party, she looks like this younger cat, like maybe barely an adult, like maybe like for human years, like 18, 19 years old, like barely hit that threshold of adulthood. Really, she is actually a more mature adult. She is a player in age, more equivalent to like a 28, 29-year-old. So for the party, she looks quite younger, but really she is older and a lot more wiser and smarter than people think. It's just the mastermind thing that I'm still trying to wrap my head around. And so she's quite out there and more bubbly and very extroverted. I have become not extroverted over the past few years of this pandemic, and even before that for different reasons. So I'm challenged myself by being extroverted again. So she's a very chatty, very communicative, will talk to everyone and anyone, will ask probably the oddest and maybe most inappropriate questions out there. But she has a lot of fun. Like, she gets all the information she wants because she's got this natural charm to her, and she's very bubbly, very excited. But then in combat, that's where it switches and changes. That's where her older self comes out, and like the skilled rogue fighters that she is kind of creeps back into play, and her natural feline instincts come out. And so she's kind of got that dual side to her, and when she's in her serious mode, that's when the mastermind stuff comes out. That's where she can be very deceptive, very persuasive, and it's definitely a lot of fun to play. But again, normally in campaigns, I'm very happy to just sit back and listen, and if they need my character to do something, I'll do it. But for her, she's like, no, we're gonna go do this. I'm gonna go do this. And she very much states what she likes to do, and I've got to be careful with that as a player, because we are in a D&D party, we are playing with other people, so I've been trying to be very careful of that. Like, I'll let everyone else kind of jump in every once in a while, but if there's this awkward silence for like even like 30 seconds, she'll jump in and be like, I think we should do this, and like she'll just bound off and do it. Very impulsive, very quick thinking, but also in a very strategic way. So I don't think the party realizes this yet, but everything she does, she's done it because she's thought of what could happen to it and if it's worth it. So she's actually one of those people that looks like she's being chaotic and like, can we not, Yuri, get back here. And she's like, no, wait, there's a reason. And I'll show you, just wait. And she'll go do the stupid thing. Let's be honest, she does the stupid thing a lot. And then she'll come back and be like, so I found out this, and they're like, you got that from that? Like, yeah, I sure did. So it's kind of that like interesting balance between like being dumb, being stupid, and facing the consequences to like, no, I'm doing this for a reason. Like, being stupid is also a way to get information. Being dumb is also a way to be connected to things that you've never been connected to before. So she's a very interesting character, and I've been really trying to figure out the mastermind stuff a bit more, because some of it is her, some of it isn't. So there's currently an ability where, as a bonus action, she can use the help action on an ally that's fighting a creature within 30 feet of her. I've been doing it, but I've also been wondering, like, does Yuri trust her party enough to actually help them? And there's a few people in the party she does. I think there's another person in the party that she's like, don't trust yet, don't know very well, don't really, nah, I'm not gonna help them out. So she's kind of being very selective with stuff, which is very fun. But those two characters, again, are so different from each other. They're different from what I do and what I believe in. It's wild. Like, it's been a lot of fun too, because now I'm like, oh, it's actually fun being a little more extroverted, or it's a little fun causing some trouble here and there. While it may suck for some consequences for the whole party, it's still kind of fun to do it. And I'm kind of enjoying it a lot. So, sorry to both parties in Curse of Strahd and in Uranos' campaign, because I'm challenging myself with some crazy characters in 2 different ways, and it's a lot of fun. So I apologize for the chaos about to happen, but I'm also really enjoying it. So that's how I've been challenging myself with these 2 characters. Been a really good journey so far, although some sessions I definitely don't have fun with. Like with Mel, the last session for Curse of Strahd, for example, she went and scouted ahead. Like, she's that kind of character, right? Where she needs to know everything, know where all the secrets are, know where all the doors, like, where everything is. But she impulsively opened a door and ran into a room. And in Curse of Strahd, this might be spoilers, so if you don't want to hear this, you can skip ahead for a few minutes. But there's this room where there's a statue, and the statue, you have to make a wisdom saving throw as soon as you walk in. My character rolled a nat 1. Naturally, fucking, thanks, Melva. You've got a high wisdom. You rolled a fucking nat 1. I'm so cranky about that, as you can tell. And basically, it was the sympathy antipathy spell. And so she felt sympathy towards the statue, and the statue brought up, like, I know where Hendrik is. I can bring him here if you want. Tell me your story, child, and I'll bring him to you. And so she just goes automatically to the statue, because that's part of the deal with this one. And apparently this statue has this effect for like 10 days. So if her party hadn't done anything, she would have been at that statue like groveling and crying and just be like, bring him here. How dare you tease me? And like, how can you bring him here? He's in prison. He's probably dead now. Like, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, then I realized that, oh, my character can't do shit. Like, she can't escape it herself. It has to be the other party, or the other members of the party, to find a way to get her out of it. Luckily, they did, in a very stupid way. Thank you, Clink. But Clink shoved one of the peat pies from one of the hags into her mouth, and it caused her to go into a 7-hour trance. And that ended the effect of the spell, basically. And then that led for a nightmare because of the cursed book dream. So Melva's really not doing hot right now, I'm not gonna lie. She's gonna come out of this dream, and I think what I rolled for this is unworthy, so she's gonna be in a pretty interesting state in next session that we have. But again, in those kinds of things, that situation, not fun. Your character can't do anything to break out of the spell. Your character thought she was doing good by going to scout ahead and let the party be behind and heal and recover from the last fight. But nope. She walked into a room, got trapped by a spell, couldn't do anything, and basically stayed quiet. So sometimes having these characters like this is not a good time. Not at all. She's had another moment too in this campaign where she was inspecting a statue, and she liked the cloak that was on it because it's like a regular fabric cloak. And she touched it, and the shadow figures came out, and when they attack you, something with their attacks caused your strength score to go down. And that was fucking terrifying, because for Melva, her strength score almost went down to 0. Like, from a 11 all the way down to like a 0. And if that would have happened, she would have died. So she was down to 3. I had a strength score of fucking 3. before the party was able to kill them. And then luckily, a long rest basically kind of brought her back up to her regular strength score. But I was like, holy shit, not fun, fucking scared. Oh god, Barovia. So there are things like that happens. And Yuri's had a couple moments too where she's like, oh, maybe this isn't a good time to loot someone because they're actually sad over their commander dying. Okay, I'll try to be respectful and have my ears droop and be like a sad kitty. Although the entire situation is just faking it because it's fucking Yuri. So it's, again, very interesting situations to put my characters in, but a lot of fun at the same time. That is that. That is, you can tell me your thoughts on my two characters. Why not? Have fun. Let me know what you think about Yuri and Malva. So Malva again is Way of the Shadow Monk, Ghostwise Halfling. By the way, one complaint. Ghostwise Halfling. Do you think a Ghostwise Halfling should have dark vision? I think so, but she fucking doesn't. Good times. Luckily, she is a Way of the Shadow Monk, so she can actually cast dark vision on herself, which is handy, but it's also annoying to spend key points to do that, so life. But it is her. It's the way it works, and good times. So that's Malva, Way of the Shadow Monk, Ghostwise Halfling. At least I got Halfling luck, baby! I just realized that Halfling luck and I could have rerolled that natural one. Ooh, look at that. Post-session regrets. Welcome to my life. And then there's Yuri, who is a mastermind rogue tabaxi with a charlatan background and a whole heck of a bundle of chaos. It's that cat. It's very fun playing the cat tropes too with her. Like, her claws come out and she can like climb things and scratch people and that kind of stuff. And then she doesn't like water very much unless it's for a bath. If it's clean water that will make her look pretty, she's okay with it. But rain and dirty water and mud and gross stuff, no. And then, yeah, again, like, we were in a combat situation where there's like a big bird and she's like, I want to go kill the bird. And then there is also these goblins on wolves and she's like, bad doggy. And like, yeah, it's a cat thing. So those are those two characters. Enjoy telling me all about your characters, and if you've got any one that you play that's like those two crazy characters, that'd be great. Tell me your stories, everyone. I love to hear them. Now let's move on to over a year of teaching D&D online. So a little backstory here. I found a teaching platform online called OutSchool. Now, OutSchool is a platform where there's such a huge variety of classes out there, like D&D, for example, baking. I've seen some macrame classes lately, some Minecraft stuff, Roblox, and then your regular, of course, school subjects like English language arts, science, that kind of stuff. There's like knitting classes, crochet, like there's a whole variety on there. There's like a sourdough bread baking class for your kids. Isn't that wild? But the whole purpose of this platform is for you to sign up, become a teacher, and once you pass their application process and demo and all that kind of stuff, and you can design and create the courses all yourself and schedule whenever you want to teach them, like whenever it's available for you. I found this platform a year ago, or I guess back in December of 2020. I signed up and applied for it at the end of the year, and then I was like, okay, I'll take it seriously in the new year. And so January 2021 basically is when I started fully teaching on it, offering classes, and I started off with very basic introductory classes to D&D, so like how to make a character, how does combat work in D&D, role-playing, leveling up your character, multi-classing, and how do you become a DM, all that kind of stuff. And those classes definitely got me a lot of interest and lots of different kinds of students. Oh, there we go. I almost had a sneeze. My apologies. And it was quite slow going. I gathered a little bit of interest. I had a couple students take all of my classes, and then they kept asking, like, what's next? And that's over the first, like, probably 6 months that I did OutSchool. Very slow and low enrollments. A student here, a couple students there. Never really a full class or no more than really 4 students at a time. And then in April of last year, I offered my first D&D campaign, and for Christmas, my mom surprised me and got the Explorer's Guide to Wild Now. So I adapted the one little mini campaign in the book involving Hupperduke, and I created a whole thing around Hupperduke. So Chaos and Hupperduke was the very first campaign. And I had 2 kiddos who had basically taken all of my classes, signed up right away. And so we started off with just the 2 kids in the campaign, but then after the first session, we had one more kid join, and we had 3 of them for the whole first campaign, which was very cool. I was like, oh my god, yeah, I got 3 regular students. This campaign's like 10 weeks long. Let's go. And Chaos and Hupperduke ended up being the name of the class because there was an explosion. They had to go chase after a creature that caused the explosion, apprehend the bad guys, and then they would be rewarded. Well, one of my kids in that class has a character with multiple personalities, and it's actually quite a lot of fun, but it is, you can probably imagine, very chaotic. And when you are in a city with a bit of authority and like very structured way of doing things, I suppose, it could be bad. So this character from this kid, my student, kept pissing off the Crown's Guard over and over again. They finally just sent them off on the quest, if you do a good job on this, I'll forgive you for what you've done, which is threaten to attack the head of the Crown's Guard, threaten to steal the gnome secretary, all these really kind of very bad things to do. And so they went up the mountain, went through a cave, found the creature, killed the creature, came back, and in that conversation they kept angering the Crown's Guard. So I actually had to jail that character for 24 hours. Jailed them. So they could do nothing. It was an anti-magic chamber. He was handcuffed. He was bound by a gag. He couldn't speak or anything like that. Couldn't access his material components. So no spell casting, no nothing. And I made him sit there for 24 hours. And the other 2 characters basically just kind of went on their way to look for some more information on the bad guys, basically. And then they came back and overall ended up with a pretty decent campaign. They got some cool items at the end and some money and gold for doing the job well done. And then the campaign ended. Now, I asked the students, would you like us to have another campaign? Just to continue from where we left off onwards. And they're like, sure. Yeah, that sounds like a great idea, miss. And I'm like, okay. So then I created a campaign in the Feywild. And naturally, because they did a good but also bad job in Hupperduke, it was called Exile to the Feywild. So what happened, basically, to kind of wrap up the end of the campaign and to introduce them to this campaign, was that the Crown's Guard, the head of the Crown's Guard, didn't want them around anymore, and he didn't trust them to not cause mayhem in their neighboring cities and areas. I was like, we gotta get rid of them permanently. So he had a priest of the Traveler. That's right. The Traveler, Critical Role fans, come in and basically used... Oh, what was the spell? Basically used a spell to set in, it was a small chance that they would end up in the Feywild. But I rolled it before the campaign began, and it was the Feywild that they got sent to. Hence why exiled to the Feywild. But this campaign brought in 2 more students. So I had 5 students in this campaign. And so it's really interesting to start off the campaign because the 3 main characters were okay, so we ended up in the Feywild because we were exiled. We fucked up. We messed up. We pissed off this guy. He made a deal with a god. Yeah, we got it. We messed up and ended up in the Feywild. The other characters, let them choose how they got to the Feywild. And the one girl was I was already there. I was there looking for information because she is a spy criminal. And So she was like, yeah, I was already there, and I got chased out of the city of Sildior because I learned way too much information way too quickly and was in the wrong area at the wrong time. So she was chased out of the city basically to crash into the meadow where the other characters ended up. The other character was like, I lived in the meadow. I was like, okay, sure. So he had like a little house built and that kind of idea, and then they all met and had interactions, and again, a very chaotic campaign with these kids because, again, the student with the multiple personality character caused a lot of stuff, and it was a really crazy wild ride. I'm not going to go into all the details of this. Basically, they had to go hunt down these group of people that were trying to kill the Eladrin in the Feywild, which is dumb. They should never fucking do that, but they were trying. And they were to dispatch them and figure out who was behind it. And they found out who was behind it, and a very complicated baddie. She was doing it for her own reasons. She was always being outcasted, treated horribly because she was an owl. So I brought an owlkin, right, race from D&D. Brought her in, and because she was like really the only one of her kind in the Feywild, because I made that a thing for the story. Everyone kept treating her badly. They didn't understand her magic or her powers, and she was basically just acting out. Everyone respected the Eladrin and their magical powers, but they didn't respect her for her powers. And so a couple of the characters actually felt for her. Others wanted to bring her to justice for harming so many people. And it led to a big fight, and this one student was very clever. His character worships the god of justice, so Tyr. Prayed to him in the middle of combat and was like, you need to give us a resolution. What are we doing here? Are we killing this lady, or what's happening? He came down in the world of freaking natural 20 on that, so I had to like really come up with stuff like, don't worry about her. There are bigger things here at play. I will deal with Elena. You and Bonnie, your guide, need to figure out a way to stop a bigger thing from happening. So the campaign ended with their guide, Bonnie, receiving a vision from Tyr that the god that brought some of the characters to the campaign, the Traveler, was not who he seemed, and the Feywild is fading. Like magically, powers, that kind of idea. Cue the third campaign with these kids. And they've, like, I made this all up because, like, again, it's a very creative twist and take on a couple things from, like, the Critical Role universe and the Feywild and a bunch of stuff and the history of D&D. And I know some of you probably remember, like, well, that's impossible, that can't happen, but run with it. It's a great... D&D, anything can happen in the D&D. Just remember, there's a whole multiverse, and so this is my little universe and the whole multiverse of everything. So it's my little world that I created for the kiddos, and they were really interested in it, so it worked quite nicely. So just remember that. I may not follow the Feywild to the books, I may not follow the creatures to the books, I may not follow everything to the book, but we have fun. And so basically I want to have that little preface in there because the whole purpose of the next campaign, Magical Twist of Fate, is the Traveler, they found out, wasn't actually a god, was this power-hungry archfey who basically convinced a bunch of people that he was a god, and he was like, oh crap, I don't have enough power for this, and found a way to siphon magic and energy from the Feywild to power his abilities to be a god. The kiddos never found out how he did it, by the way. I just realized that now. That's gonna come back and bite them in the bum later, but yeah, they went through a lot of investigation. They ended up in Waterdeep for a while. They got to play Spell Clash, which is something that Mark Humes came up with in Eros, and I kind of adapted it for the kids to do that. And they investigated Bonnie, the NPC, who was just really worried about her home, the Feywild. Spent a long time looking for some secrets and for information. They got a bunch of pets because they love pets, these kids, and they're frickin' luck with the dice, I swear. I basically told them that in Barovia, there are no pets because they're playing Curse of Strahd right now. In Barovia, you're not going to get a pet. No. That's just them. Sorry. No, they're all evil creatures and they're all working under Strahd. I don't think you want a pet from Barovia. Just saying. But yeah, the Magical Twist of Fate campaign led them down this paper trail that got them into the city of Daggerford, and they found out that there was a newly constructed temple in honor of the traveler or the wanderer or whatever kind of pseudonym he went under. And so they went around asking the city of Daggerford, like, what is the traveler like? Is the city okay? Like, what's going on? Because they've just heard really mixed things from the traveler. And the city is like, well, yeah, he does really good things. He's helped out the blacksmith improve his abilities and his strength and able to make really good weapons. He's helped the shopkeep with some really cool magical imbued items. You know, just kind of like made him sound like a really benevolent person. And then Bonnie received another vision. Not from Tyr this time, from someone else. Which, like, at the party, don't know about because they never incited her or asked her. Showing another image of the Feywild where the creatures in the Feywild have gone both crazy and also docile, would that be the word? Kind of like meh. So she saw this vision of like the satyrs and the like bulls and kind of like the larger, kind of typically angrier creatures acting out, like fighting each other or causing mayhem, chasing creatures out of the forest, out of the woods. And then she also saw some of the creatures with their colors faded and looking very exhausted and sickly, and like they're being, like some of their essence was being drained. And of course it tied back to the traveler and what he was doing. Lo and behold, they had to fight the traveler. He made a deal with the party that, like, okay, yes, well, at noon tomorrow, we'll see how strong you really are, because if you're concerned about the Feywild, well, you'll have to defeat me to save it, and that kind of idea. They fought the traveler in this pocket dimension that he created, and it was a long combat. I had to add 2 more sessions to that class, because it was a long battle, because of some of the cool pocket dimension things I did for like a layer effects and such, and then legendary actions and resistances. It took them a little while to figure out the traveler and what worked best and what didn't work. But they got there. They destroyed him, and then they had to figure out how to get out of the freaking pocket dimension. And they ended up kind of tearing the threads of reality, is what I call it. So they used their swords and their weapons and some very clever radiant spells to kind of rip at those threads of the pocket dimension. Poofed back into Daggerford. Found out that the mayor that was working with the traveler had left. Just escaped town. And they made the deputy chief basically the new mayor of Daggerford. And they had to do some rebuilding because part of the house that they were in before the pocket dimension appeared got destroyed. And that's when they left the pocket dimension and everything kind of got squared away. Suddenly everything got dark. And a bunch of mist rolled in. And so now these 5 kiddos that I've been teaching now for almost a freaking year are now in Barovia because the Vistani came to them and asked for help to deal with the devil. And in this campaign, it's actually my very first campaign where I have 6 out of 6 students. So now I've got 6 characters, 6 students on this class, and they are really enjoying Curse of Strahd. I have to be careful with Curse of Strahd because I'm currently playing. I've played through the whole campaign once already with my very first character. I talked about Guinevere. So I know a little bit of it, but I also know my clever DM in the first campaign changed up a few things. I know Lourdes is changing up a few things as well. So I think I'm okay to kind of teach this campaign and just kind of keep the player knowledge behind what the character actually knows. But now I'm having fun because I'm also grabbing some inspiration from Mark Kilmes, who does the Arrowist campaign, and he put his High Rollers crew through Curse of Strahd. So I'm getting some ideas and inspiration from a lot of different pockets to make this campaign PG friendly because it is a teaching campaign. So I have to be a little careful with the content and the maturity of everything because my kiddos are all between the ages of 10 and 13. Oh no, one kid just turned 14, so 10 and 14. So I gotta be a little careful, but they are enjoying the spookiness of it. And one of the characters is going to be making a deal with Strahd this week, so it's going to be very interesting. But I've had a lot of really, really cool experiences with this one group of kids because I've been so challenged as a DM with the multiple personalities character, and at first it was really annoying and frustrating as a DM because I was like, what do I do with this? But now I've got ways to handle it, and it's very fun. So if his character goes out of hand too far, I make him roll a wisdom saving throw, and he'll take psychic damage based on like if he strays too far from what the personality would normally do or what he would normally do. So I've got ways to handle it and rein him back in now, which is fun. But at first I was like, what do I do? Oh my god, this is, I don't even have to, because like the party, the other characters were like getting annoyed and they wanted to fight him and kill him. And I was like, no inter-party conflict. We're gonna work this out. So I had like a fun cleric therapy session with them all one time just to kind of resolve a lot of it. Some of it gets brought up every now and then, like, how can you go out of order once? I swear I'm not afraid to plunge my glaive into your body. And he's like, okay. So it's a little managing of conflict there, because I know some of the characters are good. His character is not good. His character is evil. So it's just a little bit of managing there that I've done. And every once in a while I'll bring in like an astral protector. What is it called? Sorry, words. Astral projection of the cleric therapist that they had, and bring her in and be like, now, what do we say? Use your words, not violence, and have those kind of silly moments. But in Barovia, she will not be able to appear. So now it's going to be a really interesting like DM management of conflicts now again. So we'll see how this goes. But in my 1 year of teaching D&D, things have expanded even further. I reopened my previous campaigns, Chaos of Hupperduke and Exile to the Feywild, as separate campaigns, because those campaigns are set with like a very fixed starting point, and then whatever the characters choose to do, they can go on their own direction or go where they want with it. So it's very fun to see the differences, because this first group of kids obviously played it a certain way and did certain things, but now with the new group, they're doing new things with it, and now they're going to have their own separate stories and campaign and continuations of those campaigns. So it's really, really fun. So each campaign has a fixed point, and it's based on like what happens in the previous campaign, or if it's Chaos of Hupperduke where they begin, the next campaigns are determined on how that story ends. So it all works out quite nicely. And I've got one group that I absolutely adore Sunday nights, who are amazing. They're all 10 years old. One's 11. And the way they introduce their characters made me so happy. And I'm going to maybe implement it into the rest of my campaigns, like for new students and new characters. But they brought in their characters, like one student, I won't say her real name, let's call her Lindsay, why not? When she brought in her character, she was the first one to go. She was like, hi, my name's Lindsay, I use they, them pronouns. My character is Flurry, and she's non-binary, so you can just call her Flurry. Don't use she, her, they, them, nothing, just call her Flurry. And I was like, oh, do I have my first like genderqueer campaign? Fuck yes. And sure enough, the rest of the kiddos introduced their characters in that exact same way. And all of them are like they, them characters or non-binary. And I'm like, fuck yeah, I get to have a lot of fun in the Feywild with these groups. Because like, in the Feywild, there's so many different fun, magical creatures and beings that they're not going to know the gender of the characters. They've got this magical deer right now, for example, that is a magical deer. Does it have sex? Does it breed? No. It's just the magical deer of existence. So it's quite fun to do some stuff like that and do some gender bending and all that kind of stuff with this group. It's really fun. They're very open, very honest with each other, and they're very respectful of their pronouns too, which is really cool and very important and such a huge lesson for myself as well. And then the other group I've got that is in the Chaos of Hupperduke campaign, they're all boys, and it's been a lot more teaching playing than just playing and like watching them learn the game as they play. I've had to pause the campaign a few times to kind of help with character stuff, teach them more about combat rules and how it works, how to use their spells, how damage works. And I even had to do one session where I was like, you know what? I can see that all of you are in different positions with your characters and development, whether you have a character sheet or not. Next session, we're going to just all make their characters from scratch using D&D Beyond. I will demonstrate how it works. We'll get you all on the same page. You'll join my D&D Beyond campaign. That way I can help you, and we can have these like pauses, teaching moments to help you learn the game better. So it's quite different. It's a lot of pausing, reteaching, relearning, asking if they got it, if they have any other questions, and continuing on the story. So I've had the lesson I've learned from that group is patience. And I'm pretty good with patience, but there are some times where it can get to me, where I would have just explained something, then this group is pretty bad at interrupting me. So I've set a new rule after this week for this group, that I will read out descriptions and kind of tell you what's going on in the story, but if you interrupt me, I will not re-explain it. Whatever you hear is what your character hears, and we'll see how that plays out. It could be negative consequences, or positive, or just nothing happens, but I will do that from now on. So it's a little more teacher-y than I would like it to be, but sometimes you just have to have that discipline, have that patience, and it's definitely taught me a lot. And with the next couple of weeks, because it's kind of wrapping up here pretty soon, and then I'm going on 2 weeks of vacation in April. Don't worry, uploads will still happen, but I am going to go on vacation for 2 weeks in April. It will be a little more flowy, a little more good and graceful, but again, they now have that rule where if they interrupt me in the middle of a description, like a rock fall happening, they're going to get squished and they're going to take damage from rocks. Or if they go into the town and this person that they're talking to is trying to describe the reward that they're having and they interrupt the reward, they're only going to get what has been described up to that point. They're not going to get the rest of the reward. So it's a couple things like that, and it's going to be a little teachery, I suppose, but it's just, again, an important thing to learn is to be patient, listen to the story, think of what your characters will do, and then do what your character will do after the story's over, or after the description's over, or after the big story lore drop is over, for example. So it's pretty interesting. They've got some pretty cool characters, though, I'm not gonna lie. Like, the group of boys, pretty cool. There's like a really cool druid who loves talking to the animals to get information, so that's been a lot of fun. We've got our fighter who, oddly enough, doesn't like fighting too much, but when needed, he will pull out that big greatsword he has and just frickin' slash away. So it's interesting, definitely. Very in 3 different interesting groups, but I've heard from all 3 groups. Sorry. Ooh, I had a little slime bubble there in my bed. I've heard from all 3 groups that despite a little bit of hiccups here and there, they want to continue on. So with the Curse of Strahd campaign, that campaign is actually going until the end of April. It's a longer campaign because it's a campaign book. So a lot more to go through. But with the other 2 groups, they would like to continue. So we'll see how they wrap up their campaigns here, both of them, like both campaigns, in the next couple of weeks. And then they can continue onwards. So the Chaos of Hubbardduke group will go to the Feywild. The Feywild group will go to Waterdeep. So we'll see how that kind of plays out. It'll be really interesting. But so far, the 3 different campaigns, 3 different kind of storytelling and styles. And I'm having a lot of fun with it. These 3 groups are pretty good. So I teach about, 6, 5, 4. So I teach 15 kids a week now. I went from teaching maybe 1 to 3 kids, maybe every couple of weeks when I first started in January 2021, to now teaching 15 kids on a regular basis, week to week. So it's really, really fun, and I want to get back to bringing more kiddos into my teaching world, so I'm going to kind of open up those introductory classes again when I go on vacation. So I'm going on vacation, but I'm not at the same time. Like, it's a staycation. I'm staying home. But there will be 1 week where I do no teaching because I may or may not have a friend come visit me from California. So we'll see about how that will work. I'm just kind of waiting for those details to be confirmed. But it's amazing to see how far this has come and the things I've learned from all of my groups. That it's okay to have chaos. it's okay to have inner party conflict. It's just a matter of how are the kids feeling and what they wish to have happen in these moments. And I've had a lot of those conversations with my kids and their playing experience, what they're hoping for. And we've set some rules in each group to kind of make sure things flow okay. And it's been pretty fun. It's definitely way different than just being a DM for your friends and having like a regular kind of campaign, because naturally your friends will know how to play D&D and they know their characters very well and they know what they want. These kids don't. I will say the two groups that are new to me don't really get it quite yet. They're still learning. The kids that I've been teaching for most of the year now, it feels like I'm playing with my friends. They know their characters. They know the game really, really well. They know how to ask questions in character and out of character. And now they know how to actually act in character too, which is a huge thing. When they first started out, I remember like, my character Halloween is gonna go up to the door and open it. So now they're like, more like, I'm gonna rip open that door and scream inside going, hey, anyone here? So they're actually really in character now. And that's one thing that I've been pretty proud of myself as a teacher, is to challenge them to do that. And now that I had in the last campaign before Christmas Strahd, I can see it now with them really acting and actually being in character more. And it's such a beautiful thing, because a lot of these kids were shy. They didn't know what to do with their character, what an attack roll was. So now I can see them going, no, I'm going to break open that door. So what is that check again, miss? It's like a strength check, right? Or athletics? I'm like, yes it is. So it's been a really great journey teaching D&D online. I really thoroughly enjoy it. And I'm looking forward to more experiences, more cool moments, more diverse characters and groups of students. It really is a lot of fun, and I'm really, really enjoying it. Now to wrap up the podcast, because look at that, I hit my hour mark. I'm going to talk about future opportunity. I can tell I've hit that hour mark where I'm all like words. Let's talk about my future opportunities. There's a very cool gaming store here in my city that opened up about 6 months ago. And there's a lot of gaming cafes and gaming places here in the city, but a lot of them have been very restrictive due to COVID. So they don't have a lot of big spaces for D&D groups anymore, or they're only allowed like 4 at a table instead of like 6 now because of restrictions and rules. And this gaming store actually has a pretty big space, and it's very, very cool. It's like split into 2 with a back room. So there's like 2 sides to the store, and then there's a very big back room where there's like workshops being held and meetings and kind of different kind of stuff. One side of the store is all your graphic novel, comic book section, basically. Very cool. The other side's like your gaming stuff. So like D&D stuff, Pathfinder, Warhammer, Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, D&D dice. Like, it's kind of split up in that way. What's cool about the store is they have an artist in residence every weekend who comes and will, if you donate to the food bank, she'll make like a little postcard for you of like a D&D character or like something cute that she makes. And you also get to talk to her and ask her about art. And I'm actually commissioning her to make a couple of unique Feywild creatures for my kiddos so that they can be rewarded at the end of the campaign by seeing what the creatures they've been playing with and befriending look like. So it's kind of cute. But the best part about this shop in my city is that they offer workshops on a regular basis. Workshops from like comic book, right, or from like making comic strips to miniature painting. They do also some illustrative workshops too, and art stuff and graphic art. And I was talking to the one co-owner of the gaming store there about like D&D, and like I told her I'd teach online D&D and that kind of idea. She's like, well, you wouldn't be paid for it, but we are constantly looking for more DMs, like dungeon masters, to have workshops. in our store. If that is something you're interested in, and we can help you with like a physical setup here, because it sounds like you've been doing all of your D&D online in the last 5 years. And I'm like, yep, I really have been. And if that's something you're interested in, here is my card. Give us a call and let us know what dates and times you'd like, and we can get it all set up. So after my vacation in April, I'll look into hosting some in-person youth workshops for D&D. Because apparently in March they had 3 workshops, like weekly workshops set up for D&D, and they were sold out. Or actually it was from January to March. So those 3 months of workshops sold out immediately for D&D. So there's such a huge interest in it now with like the younger generation that they need more people to help host sessions so that they can keep filling them up and keep offering a wonderful service of teaching D&D to kids. And the benefits of it as well, because like the reason why I started teaching D&D is because it gave me a lot of benefits. Like I can communicate way better, I can think more creatively, I can even put on the odd silly voice now whenever I would like, and do some fun things now. Like I've actually really stretched myself with D&D. And meeting new people and learning new things and trying new things, and D&D is really great in problem solving. It's just a really good game to kind of develop some stuff like that, like communication, problem solving, impromptu decision making, all that kind of stuff. And so that is going to be a future opportunity for me, is to actually do some in-person D&D DMing or creating character workshops and that kind of idea. So it's really super exciting, and I can't wait to get started on it. Probably won't start till May, as again I am taking 2 weeks off in April and relaxing and kind of having a staycation, having a friend visit, live normal human hours instead of nocturnal hours, and just enjoying life and kind of taking those 2 weeks off. And then after those 2 weeks is when I'll begin the process of contacting them and setting up a schedule that works for me and offering some D&D workshops in person, because they have a huge large back room where they have it all nice spaced out, and you can fit up to like 6 kids in the room plus you as a DM, so 7 people. And it's so exciting. Like, it's such an amazing store that my sister and I just randomly found, and I can't believe this opportunity is coming my way. It's really cool, very exciting. I've learned a lot as a DM over this past year and a couple of years that I've been trying it here and there, and I think this will be a really great opportunity for me. That is everything. Oh my goodness, I went through my whole list here, and that's been my whole Dungeons and Dragons life lately, is challenging myself with 2 characters that are, one's evil, one's just chaotic. That's just the way it is. And dealing with their impulsiveness and moods is kind of a good way to wrap it all that up. Yeah, pretty much. Between Malva and Uri. Yep, pretty much. Then my experience of teaching D&D online this past year and how much I've grown. And now I teach 15 kids regularly with the occasional other class here and there, and having an additional couple new kids come in. It's been a really exciting and amazing journey there. And then coming up probably in May, I will be doing some in-person D&D workshops where I get to help more people learn about D&D and enjoy the game and experience a lot of cool things and learn a lot of important skills too while they're just enjoying the game. So that's D&D Lately for me. That is the podcast. Let me know what you think. Tell me some other cool D&D stories if you've got some in your belt. Let me know what you think, your thoughts are, and we'll wrap it up here. So thank you so much for listening to all of my crazy rambles, and I apologize for the little hiccups, and I had a sneeze somewhere in there. My editing software is not working right now, so this is going to be raw and uncut, so all the little mistakes I've made, enjoy them. I'm human, but it's still a good experience, still a good learning chat to have with you all. And I can't wait to come back next week with more content and more stories. So, thank you everyone. Take care out there, and we'll see you in the next episode of whatever that will be. And yes, I just hit my elbow against the door. Okay, bye!